Many Constant Worlds is a podcast following the meta disjointed journey through the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, and we read a whole lot of other things besides the Dark Tower at this point.
I'm Taryn, they, them, and I don't give a shit what you or anybody else says. Santa's not dead. I'll never write it. I'll never say it.
I'm Kat, she, her, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I never prepare Kat for my intros just as an inside, just for some inside baseball.
Yeah, no, we just kind of say the things that we say, and
I think of it while Kat is giving the intro, the Mini Constant Worlds intro. Santa's not dead, though. How dare you try and make me?
I made an entire D&D one-shot saving Santa, so you're looking at the wrong person.
I remember that one, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. I got those little pouches with all the stuff in them. That really stale candy cane that I still haven't eaten. It's in there. It was a weapon, wasn't it?
It was a weapon.
Yeah, I still have it for this year.
And then the other candy was like power-ups, basically.
Yeah, like the nugget, the little coal nugget.
Yeah.
I can't believe you found a way to give me coal for Christmas through D&D.
I also gave you Geld.
That's true. You did give me Geld as well. Which I also did. I didn't eat. Not either in-game or out of game. I have everything still in that pouch. Because I'm assuming Hulla D&D Part 2 is coming this year.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
I don't know that it'll be quite as good as last time because there are much fewer poems to really work into it.
I don't know how, but I know something stupid's right now. Yeah.
But you know what? This is a great moment to put out just a forewarning. We are going to be taking a brief hiatus for the month of January. So you got this episode, and then you'll have the next episode coming out at the end of December, and then we're going to be on pause until February 7th.
It's not that we need a vacation or anything. It's that Kat's day job gets fucking wild in January, and I don't do jack shit for this podcast. So I show up.
Yeah. You definitely riff with me, and you suffer alongside me.
I'm the one who figured out that we should read this book.
Exactly.
And I wanted to shoot myself in the fucking kneecap for having figured that out.
I forgive you.
I don't deserve it. The amount of times that I debated whether or not, that I debated out loud with you. I don't know if it's really that necessary.
All they did was argue for why exactly we needed to switch. Yeah, that's the meta disjointed part coming out right there. We're not always happy with it.
No, but you gotta do it.
You gotta do it.
If you set out a set of rules, you can't ignore them.
Nope. And with that, we support trigger warnings and taking care of your own mental health. So before we dive into The Mist, these are the trigger warnings for The Mist and thus this episode.
Was that pun intended?
No. I don't even remember what I just said.
You said dive into the mist.
No. Trigger warnings. Death, violence, gore, infidelity, blood, suicide, sexual content, fatphobia, and religious abuse.
And dumb shit puns, because it's gonna happen. Literally anything that you want to try to say about The Mist ends up being a fucking pun. There's nothing. I love puns. I'm pro pun, but there's nothing that you could do, and that's what I don't like about it. It almost feels like it was set up that way.
Stephen King was a dad by this point. It's a dad joke. It's the
Motherfuck.
ultimate dad joke. So The Mist. I literally always think of Robot Chicken's M. Night Shyamalan bit where he turns around and says, "What a twist!"
We were already talking about, all I can think of is Gay Grumps, and it's mist but spelled another way. Shot and then a missed. Shot again, missed. Reloaded, missed.
The Mist was originally published August 29th, 1980 in Dark Force, an anthology which Edward Gorey was also in. And, you know, there's other people in that too, but Edward Gorey was a name I recognize, and I really hope he doesn't turn out to be problematic.
Just let go of your hopes and dreams.
We have been soul-crushed so much this year already. It was later published in a collection of Stephen King's own titled Skeleton Crew in June of 1985. Somewhere out there, Debbie is wearing that snakeskin miniskirt, and her dreams of getting her hand on a member of Duran Duran are still alive and well. You go, Debbie. This is your time.
Is she in the mist?
You know, technically, because it sounds like it went everywhere, unfortunately, she probably is.
I had just meant, is she like reading the mist? But because you have to say that you are reading it. Any other terms that you could use for the mist become like some kind of pun or some kind of reference to being inside of the mist, because fuck Stephen King. I let him get away with so much, now I'm mad.
That's fair. Either way, Bowling for Soup is amazing. You should listen to them. And I actually share a birthday with the singer, Jarrett Reddick. He was 13 when Skeleton Crew came out.
Oh, shit. He probably did read it.
I don't know. I don't know if Stephen King's up his alley.
Yeah, but he's 13. You gotta be edgy to your friends.
You know what? Of all the things Jarrett Reddick has, like, implied about himself, edgy is not one of them.
Yeah, no, Bowling for Soup is great. Don't just listen to their like, shit that's on the radio, either. No. Like, get hipster about it. Listen to all their stuff.
Yeah.
Go see them live if they do that.
They do. They're actually, like, they did a tour earlier this year.
Yeah.
They didn't come anywhere near here. That's why I didn't go.
Can you blame them?
Yes. They've been in Reno before.
Yeah, but that was in the before times, the long, long ago.
They could have gone to Tahoe. They've been to Tahoe before, too. I've seen them there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I saw them up in Crystal Bay. Technically, it's not Tahoe, but it's kind of Tahoe.
Yeah, it's Tahoe adjacent.
Yeah.
It's close enough.
It's the place that they probably thought they were going. That venue was that was the most dive casino I think I've ever been in. That drive sucked, too, because it was very windy. But
I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
I just remember the show that I went to with you, and I'm not like, I don't share a birthday with Jared Reddick, but
yeah,
it was good. It was just a good show in general.
Yeah, they are a solid show.
I just like shows.
Because I have so many, like, older Bowling for Soup shirts, they always recognize them.
Yeah, you'd hope.
It's just funny.
No, for sure.
Because when they were in Tahoe, they called out the fact that I had my Pope Jarrett shirt on.
Oh, that's incredible.
So, yeah.
That's fun.
This is a lot more enjoyable than The Mist.
We're doing everything we can to avoid. If you're like, I love Stephen King, my favorite thing Stephen King's ever done is The Mist, this is not the podcast for you.
Sorry.
That shit was awful.
Yeah.
It made me rethink whether or not I like Stephen King.
Sadly enough, I agree. It was so bad. Like, I kept waiting for it to get good and go, no, like, this has to be better. Because, I mean, obviously we watched the movie not long ago, but...
Fuck the movie, too.
I remember seeing the movie in the theaters with my dad. And yeah. I remember it being, like, okay, my favorite part is, like, when the thing, like, walks over the car. Because it just looks really cool.
Yeah.
And I think I misremembered how long they spent actually in the mist. Because it's such a small part of all of this. They spend so much time in that fucking grocery store.
It's made me hate grocery stores. It's made me hate fog. I like fog. When I don't have to drive in it, I used to like fog. It made me hate fog. It made me hate just weather. It made me hate, I already hated bugs, but it made me hate like I just don't, it took away my enjoyment of like deli like fried chicken or like deli barbecue chicken because they eat that in the mist. That's the thing that they make on the first night. It burned itself into my memory that hard. I remember what they eat the first night because they eat it in the movie and they eat it in the book. Which, by the way, the Frank Darabont movie is just the book. Like, they do such a good job of recreating it until the ending, which I'm sure we will get to, but fuck the ending. Frank Darabont, what are you doing? You're such a solid film. Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Was that not him?
I think it was.
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
That was a solid, Nightmare on Elm
Street. Good movie.
Surprisingly. And I liked that we got Nancy back.
He brings Nancy back. He finds a way, and she's not just back, but she's like a strong woman. She got a career out of everything she's been through. She's like, she knows, like, she doesn't come in and get, like, scared that he's back. She's like, get these kids the dream pills. Like, she knows what she's fucking doing. Frank Darabont is great. And then the mist happens. What the fuck? I mean, he was good. He was fine up until the ending. I didn't know that because we watched the movie first to try and decide whether or not it fit here. As like is it? Because we were doing everything we could.
To avoid the mist.
To try, at least avoid having to swap again. But absolutely avoid the mist. Fucking dodge it.
So to further try and prolong actually talking about the mist itself, I will say, we did get a copy of the actual just straight The Mist, novella that eventually got published solo. But I've got a copy of Skeleton Crew here. And before I actually dove into reading The Mist, I did read the intro for the entire collection. And I thought it gives some nice insight. And it doesn't make The Mist better, but it's interesting Stephen King shit.
I haven't read the intro, so I'm on.
Okay.
I'm willing to hear it.
Fantastic. We'll continue to delay talking about the actual mist. So he explains in the intro that a friend had asked why he still bothers with short stories because at this point he's already got successful novels. And this friend basically tells him that short stories are losers. Also, just a side note, Stephen King doesn't like being called Steve-O. So
Wait, do you think that's why Steve-O goes by Steve-O? He's like, fuck Stephen King, he scared me one time, I will only go by what he hates. Or that he's like, people are going to mistake me for Stephen King, we're very similar. I'll have to go by the only nickname that he doesn't like.
I doubt it. I can say my dad didn't mind when people called him Steve-O.
Dad was a cool dude. I'm not shocked.
Stephen King explains how short stories helped him when he was in his early writing career. He still feels that they have value even if they didn't earn him big paychecks.
You know, back on the subject of your dad being a cool dude, your dad would never have written The Mist.
He did like the movie though.
Yeah, but your dad liked every movie.
That's true.
I think there was like one or two movies that your dad ever didn't like, and they were pretty fucking egregious.
Yeah. No, that's true, because I'm pretty sure he didn't like that Beowulf movie they came out with.
Yeah.
In the 2000s. He hated that movie.
Yeah.
He found the good in every fucking movie he could find the good in.
He was just happy to be watching a movie, so I will forgive him.
And since people have been going on, just on and on about Holly in the Holly reviews for King's Politics, I do want to fucking mention that in this intro to Skeleton Crew, he mentions Reagan firing the strikers in the air traffic controller strike and pointing out how Reagan only cared about unions when they were in Poland. This is a reference because in August of 81, Reagan fired and put a permanent ban on rehiring the air traffic controllers who went on strike.
Please don't get me started. Don't get me started on Reagan and unions. I can't. We don't have time for that podcast. That would be 10 episodes of 3 hour long of just me screaming, wordlessly screaming into the mic. Don't get me started.
No, that's fair. It's more just because I don't know if you've seen the Holly reviews that people have been putting up on Amazon.
Oh, good God. No.
But because he's included COVID, he's not kind about Trump. I'm just pointing out, it's not like this is a new thing.
It's never been a new thing.
No, he's very open.
It just means that none of them have ever seen his Twitter either.
Yeah. Well, they use what, True Social it is? But regardless, to finish the Reagan story here at the very least, so you know. So Reagan banned these air traffic controllers from being rehired when what they were seeking was a raise in their pay and a shortening of their work weeks. Reagan, in December of 81, doing his address, and he actually condemns the Soviet crackdowns on labor unions. So we're just a few months apart.
Yeah.
And he's just trash. He's just a trash man.
No, I will, just to digress, Reagan is the reason that we don't have unions and stronger unions in this country. If you want a really good breakdown of Reagan and why he was the actual worst, Dave Anthony has a really good podcast. I think I have been saving those episodes, but I know he does a why we should throw out everything Reagan did episodes on his, oh God, why can't I remember the name of his podcast? Dave Anthony with Gareth Reynolds.
The Dollop?
Yes! Thank you. Yes, on The Dollop, his Reagan. He might have more than one series on Reagan, but I believe specifically the why we should throw out all of Reagan's policies. Yeah, we'll go into in depth this bullshit. But Reagan's the reason you don't already have unions. Everything was pretty unionized through the 70s, right up until, and then Reagan came into office. And I have some conspiracy theories that I believe about Reagan, as far as him and having Alzheimer's and shit. But I don't think it's, we'll go into that another fucking day, because everybody's been throwing that shit around about every president ever since then. But Reagan is the reason that you don't have unions. Reagan is the reason why you, the listener, are not in a union or had to fight to get yourself into a union. You just had them before then for almost everything except for maybe flipping burgers at McDonald's. But thank Ronald Reagan, who, by the way, was in a union because he was in the Screen Actors Guild. So that story that you're telling and why it bothered Stephen King so much is exactly that. Reagan had his union, so why the fuck would he give a shit? I think actually Drunk History covered that as well. So if you're more of a visual learner, the Drunk History on Nancy Reagan and Ronald Reagan, also A+. You'll enjoy it. It's very funny and it will tell you exactly same shit, shorter format. But Dave Anthony's pretty funny too.
So yeah.
Sorry.
to everybody who's trying to leave fraudulent reviews on Holly, you really probably should have known what Stephen King was about at this point.
So are they fraudulent? Because I saw on Reddit that people are legitimately buying Holly and then leaving the review.
Some of them are. Some of them aren't. Some of them are just people going, I would never get this because of, I'm so sick of Stephen King's politics. So I'm sure some people also have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. They heard someone and so they decided to do the thing. But, if you want to buy the book and then leave a shitty review, go for it. He's still getting the money.
Okay, yeah. That's why.
You're still best-selling him. Good job.
Yeah, good. Oh my God. Also, it's Stephen King. I'll be honest. I think if he has one book tank because of his politics, he doesn't care. He's written, I think when I looked up Duma Key, by that point he had written 56 books. So, I don't know. The guy he's not exactly a fledgling writer.
No.
I don't think you're gonna, I don't think we're gonna see him out on the street, begging for bread. So you can try to tank his career if you want to, but I think the career has been had.
Yeah. Yeah, no, at this point, he's just putting out shit that he wants to write.
Yeah.
Which is why Holly exists, because I'm of the impression things like Holly are so different from crap like The Mist.
Yeah.
Because it's more detective-esque stuff. He's just living his best life.
Yeah.
And we support that.
And, 100% we support that. Are we going to talk some shit about Stephen King and some problems that we're going to find through Stephen King's shit? 100%, because nobody's perfect.
No, we're not perfect.
No. Oh, God, no. No.
We want to take accountability.
And taking accountability is very important. But you can take accountability and not lose your whole fucking life and livelihood in the process.
Absolutely. Bottom line of the intro.
That we've now stretched out so far to not have to talk about The Mist. We talked about Reagan. I found a way to, talk about Reagan and throw to another podcast. You could go listen to that podcast and not have to listen to about The Mist.
Bottom line is that Stephen King likes short stories. I believe he describes it as like a kiss from a stranger, which...
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
That sounds about right from this dirty old man.
So now for the actual summary of The Mist.
It was great. We loved it. It was fantastic. It was fine. We had a great time.
It's a hot summer. It's July 19th when this all starts.
I like that you're looking at me like, hey, are you going to say something? I'm very, oh no, because the 19th, is that why 7/19? I thought it was because you know how I am about anything that's near my birthday.
No, you were also negative ages at this point. We both were.
Yeah, no, that's fair, but it doesn't matter because anything, if it takes place before or after I was born, if it's near the 11th, I'm like, everybody stop.
So there's a big ass storm predicted. The storm hits. Trees everywhere. They remind the narrator, David Drayton, who is trash, of Ents from Lord of the Rings. Like, calls out Ents.
I didn't get to hear a lot of this because the copy... I listened on audiobook, and for some reason, my audiobook, like, cut out a bunch of the intro. So I will tell you all when my book started. So I'm so interested. I have no idea what's happening. Ents.
Yeah, no, he straight up calls out, like, how the trees make him think of Ents, and he describes them a little bit. We know that Stephen King is a Lord of the Rings nerd. That's all I'm saying. Anywho, so these trees, they're bad trees, so they're not like Ents.
So I have to call it Game Grumps again. It's not like your dog. My dog's a bad dog. It's not like your dog. Your dog's a good dog. My dog's a bad dog.
David, his wife Steffi, and son Billy assess the damage, find that their boathouse has been destroyed by their neighbor Brent Norton's tree. Norton comes over because he's also got tree problems. One fell. Okay.
Did you just say also got tree problems? What fell? How dare you? How dare you be more entertaining than anything in The Mist?
To be fair, it's not hard.
I think you got me too, because I was waiting for a pause so that I could talk about Brent Norton. And how in the book, I don't know who the fuck this dude is, but in the movie, it's Captain Holt. And that's the best thing they did. Tree problems, what fell?
So a tree fell on Norton's 1960 Thunderbird.
Keep track. Keep track of the cars. We're keeping track of the cars.
Yes, we are.
Because there's so many cars.
Stephen King clearly likes cars. They're fast cars.
And I need everybody to know that through my laughter fit, I didn't get really a chance to make it clear. I will never remember this dude's name. He will be Captain Holt to me through the fucking book. So keep track. Because in the movie, the guy who plays... I can't pronounce his name other than Captain Holt, but the guy who plays Captain Holt in Brooklyn Nine-Nine plays this character in the movie, and he's just Captain Holt.
So Norton comes over, he objectifies Steffi, which irritates David.
And that's where my book started. Like almost exactly at the objectification. Oh no, it was the second objectification of Steffi.
Ah.
That sounds like a rap title. Like a rap, you know how back in the 90s they would name shit like the third resurrection of like DJ Andre or some shit like that. The second objectification of Steffi. Sounds like an R&B album. We have to get through this somehow, folks.
So David and Norton go to the store where they're about to be stuck.
Are they bumping the second objectification of Steffi in the radio the whole way there?
I believe they're still struggling to get any radio signs from anywhere.
That's why they had to put in a CD, man. Oh no, it's the 80s. That's why they had to put in a... Did they have cassettes or would it be 8-track?
I think they might have had cassettes by this point. So yeah, they go to the store. Steffi had noticed some weird mist coming in before they left. David didn't like it. He didn't like the line it cut for some reason. Every time he talked about it, it just was hilarious. But I guess it's because this dude's an artist that he's like, no, that line is too straight for mist. This is artistically not okay. Now when I go and paint mist, people are going to think I'm painting it wrong because they're going to see this mist.
Everybody in the world will now think it's wrong because of this mist that I saw right now.
Now my wife thinks mist is supposed to look different. She's been looking at my mist for so long.
This is gonna totally, her expectation of mist is gonna be skewed to think that it should be like bigger and girthier. And, you know, I'm doing my best with the mist that I have.
And cut a clean line.
It's totally normal for mist to only last 3 minutes.
Also, while they're in the car, David doesn't like it when Norton says, see you next Tuesday in front of Billy, but, like, he gave his kid, like, 3 sips of beer.
The amount of shit that this book is just, this whole book, I realize it's from David's point of view, but the amount that this story is just, David doesn't like it, David doesn't like it. It's like, somebody check this dude's privilege. Like,
You know, though, and that actually brings us to a great point. This one's actually told in first person from David's point of view, which no other books we've had to suffer through.
Yeah.
The character's actual POV.
yeah.
And unfortunately, we have to hear every dumbass thought David has. They get to the store, it's full, people are all stocking up from the storm, power is out, but there's like a generator that's keeping the fridge working.
Do other people have this where they live? Where, like, if the power goes out, stores have generators? The only places that have generators here are the casinos.
Yeah.
They will get power going and, like, because they're not losing the money on a power outage. And I don't know where those generators are. I don't know if they're just connected directly to hell and they are powered by Satan himself. Like, no, keep it going. Keep the people in the chairs.
No, see, they actually, I mean, casinos employ a lot of people, and so they have a room beneath the casino that's just filled with people running on treadmills or something, or like hamster wheels.
I knew you were going to, like, employees keeping the power going. For some reason, I was picturing it more like rowing. Like, they're sitting with, like, oars attached to walls, just like, I realized a hamster wheel is the more classic electricity generating thing, but I was picturing more like they're just attached to walls with, like, chains. I think because I read stuff for Katie sometimes, and I have an aunt who writes Viking fiction, and I am saying that as smugly as possible because I'm cooler than all of you.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, Katie. And so I think my mind just immediately went to, like, people just rowing and somebody, like, shouting, like, row! Fucking row! But somehow that generates power.
You know what? It could be just set up like a gym down there, and they have, like, the rowing machines, and then also the hamster wheel. So, you know, you get a little variety in what you're doing.
And that's how they get away with it, because they say, like, oh, we have an employee gym.
Yes, exactly.
People, like, running on treadmills. They're like, no, like, for our insurance or whatever, you have to work out a certain number of hours a day, and we have a personal trainer. But then, like, you get down there and they, like, lock you to the machines or whatever. I will do anything to not have to talk about the mist.
This is the story that Stephen King should have written.
This is a story Stephen King could write.
Sounds like something Grady Hendrix would write.
Really?
Yes.
I haven't read any Grady Hendrix yet.
So it vaguely makes me think of Horror Store, where it's an IKEA, basically, but it's a haunted IKEA. The employees, shit happens in the IKEA. It's not actually IKEA, but it's IKEA.
Yeah.
And it's just that kind of, like, cheeky style horror, because, like, the book itself looks like an IKEA catalog.
Yeah.
And they've got, like, little excerpts of, like, furniture.
Maybe we should write this, because, like, okay, zombies, it could be a zombie apocalypse and it's knocked out the power, but that is legitimately how they keep the generators and shit going, and it's actually, like, the casinos are making the zombies from, like, the slot machines or something.
I love it.
And then, like, the zombies come in and they sit down and are, like, still just, you've met the people. You've met the people who just sit and fucking on the same machine all day. You can't see me. We don't have a camera or anything. Kat, can you explain? Because I can't see the look I'm making. But
it's the dead eyes. The eyes are kind of, like, drifting further apart. Mouth kind of hanging open. And almost like a bob forward and back.
Yeah.
As
yeah.
you just stare into the abyss.
Yeah. And like...
And it stares back.
Yeah, and so... like whatever protagonist is seeing people like becoming zombies from that, and they like kill people, but not like to eat, but to rob their money to go back to the casino or something, or just something like we can figure out those. But this idea is coming to me as we speak. But like
it's ours, damn it.
Do whatever, and then they go back, and so whatever protagonist or whatever, like you could have somebody who figures it out, someone who's an ex-employee or something like. They have to go and they have to shut it all down. And like not all the casinos, there's just one that's doing this.
The big one.
What do you think?
I love it.
You want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, you might have to cut this whole part out.
Maybe. We'll see.
We could probably, it's evidence that we came up with the idea.
You know what? Maybe it's a Patreon thing.
Oh, yeah. Hey, if you like this idea, if you hear this idea, you like this idea, fucking tell us, because then my rejection dysphoria might actually make me do it.
Anywho, so the lines are long at the store, and the mist is starting to roll in here too. Eventually, a guy comes running in, yelling that something was in the mist, and someone has been attacked by whatever it was. People panic. Eventually, people like bunker down in the store. David goes into the back of the store to get his kid a blanket and finds the generator like unable to handle its shit. So he turns it off. He hears something. Goes and gets other people. They all go back. They make a plan to try and get the generator going again. David protests because he heard something and they don't believe him. Norm, the bag boy, pushes to do what he wants because, you know, he's 18 and he's not a sissy.
He's a man, damn it.
He's a man.
And in the movie, he's a emo, damn it.
They get the generator up enough to open the door so Norm can, you know, go kind of clear whatever is blocking it. But some tentacles come in and they get Norm first. The others inside are David, Ollie, one of the store managers,
Ollie
Jim.
is the best.
Ollie is the best. This book would have been better if, or short story, this kiss from a stranger would have been better if it was from Ollie's POV.
If you call it that again, I will quit the entire podcast. I understand that's what Stephen King says about it. Don't say it again. Or I will at least, I have objects that I can throw at you. I have so many over here and I will do it. Kiss from a stranger. What the fuck does that even mean? Kiss from a stranger. I can't, ugh.
Jim and Myron are also dudes here, and they were going to be the ones to try and like fix the generator. So the four guys, they go out and they try and tell Brent Norton about what happened, but he doesn't want to believe it, so he doesn't.
In true Captain Holt fashion in the movie, in the book he's a little more like, haha. But that could be a symptom of the audiobook.
Norton accuses them of trying to pull a prank on him, and groups begin to form within the store. And Norton's gets dubbed the Flat Earthers. So Norton and his group decide that they're going to go out. There's a dude who agreed to tie something around his waist so people would know how far he got. He comes back bloody after something attacked those who went into the mist. Like they pull a bloody rope back to them because they couldn't see what happened out there. They just heard screaming. There's also a religious woman, because there's always a religious woman at this point, Mrs. Carmody, and she's not a giant woman. She'd be better if she was. She runs an antique store, and from what I understand of Needful Things, I kind of thought of Needful Things.
Is what you understand of Needful Things just from Rick and Morty? Because that's all I understand of Needful Things at this point.
I've heard references about Needful Things before that like were similar to the Rick and Morty. And then the Rick and Morty thing just made me think, okay, so I understood what those references were getting at.
Okay.
But yeah, the Rick and Morty episode's fairly accurate to
is it? Okay.
The summary, at least.
Oh, fantastic.
Of what Needful Things has going on. Anyway, so she talks about abominations from the earth. And since it was being stuck in the dark in the mountain in the gunslinger that brought us here, does Mrs. Carmody know something? So those who are still in the store, they do some stuff for safety because now they're convinced that there's shit in the mist. And eventually some giant bugs pop by for a visit. Those bugs are followed by pterodactyl-like things. The grocery store people fight with fire, including one Mrs. Repler, who was wielding dual raid cans like a crazy gunslinger.
Huh.
That is a description in the book. There were a couple of military dudes who came in, presumed to have come from Mount Washington, where the Arrowhead Project was. They pretty much get mentioned when they show up, and then again when they have hung themselves. This furthered David's theories about the Arrowhead Project being responsible for the mist. So the first night in the store ends with David banging Amanda Dumfries, who had supplied the group with a gun, which Ollie is good at shooting.
Ollie the best.
Ollie the best.
Is it Dumfries or Dunfries?
Dumfries.
Okay, so like dumb fries?
Yeah, dumb fries.
That's fucking stupid. I'm starting to think legitimately Stephen King is just bad at names. He should not be trusted with names.
Maybe Tabitha handled naming their children.
I sure hope so.
So David thinks about his wife. Amanda calls out someone else's name. Maybe it was her husband. It's not clear. David didn't really care. And when he is done, there's a dude named Dan Miller who snags him and is talking to him because he wants to leave because Mrs. Carmody is preaching away, and Dan argues that her followers will grow. So Dan and David, they make a plan to go to the pharmacy next door as a test. They also need some supplies because a woman got trampled when people were like running to look at the bugs on the window, I think. 7 people agree to go to the pharmacy, and the order in which they walk are as follows. Dan, Ollie, a guy named Mike Hatlin, Jim, one of the guys from the generator.
Mike Hatlin.
Right. A dude named Buddy Eagleton, gunslinger Mrs. Repler, and David.
Okay, so that was, because I'm keeping track, I'm going to make me a little diagram. That was... Repeat it again. Dan, frontman.
Ollie,
Best
Mike
guy.
Hatlin.
Gentleman from It. But, like, he couldn't quite think of a code name, so he was like, my name's Mike Hatlin. Okay.
Jim, Buddy.
He also couldn't think of a code name.
Mrs. Repler, who I believe has a first name, but I couldn't remember what it was, and I'm just remaining, like, polite.
I think she gets called Mrs. Repler throughout the...
Most of the time she is
anyways.
Mrs. Repler, but there's one point where I know that they say her actual name. I just don't remember what it was. And then David. That's the order they're walking in.
Well, yeah, he needs lots of protection for himself, and Buddy is the gunslinger, right?
No, Mrs. Repler's the gunslinger.
Oh, yeah, because she's got the...
Yeah.
Mrs. Repler, I believe, is the second greatest next to Ollie.
I absolutely agree with this.
Which is very not ageist and not misogynist of Stephen King. Like, good for him.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, you know what? Some of these old ladies, though, they'll fuck you up.
They will. I'm surprised you're not saying anything about a Maine old lady.
Right? I wouldn't know. I still haven't been to Maine.
So they get to the pharmacy and they are attacked by some spider things. So 7 went and only 3 come back. Ollie, Mrs. Repler, and David. And
I'm putting little stars next to our survivors.
Since David did mention Ents, this kind of made me think of Frodo wrapped up in that spider web.
Oh no, Dan, he didn't make it.
Yeah, no. So Carmody does continue to grow in followers, and they are described as having blank, shiny eyes, which means that it really is time to leave, as Mrs. Carmody has already suggested a blood sacrifice will be needed eventually. Timing on that is just clicking away. Night 2 comes, and they plan to leave early in the morning after dark passes, but before it gets too late. And there are 8 people who are invited, but only 7 go. Those who are going are Ambrose Cornell, Ollie, Amanda, Mrs. Repler, Mrs. Turman, who was Billy's babysitter from time to time. And she's also married to a man named Alan, which we'll get into later. Billy and David. They're the ones who are going to leave.
Who the fuck is Billy?
His son.
Oh.
And then the 8th person who was invited but had declined to go was Bud Brown. He is the other store manager. And he appreciated the invite, but he did feel that he needed to go down with his ship and stay at the store.
So, and I do want to make it clear. I did read, well, I listened, but I read this book. The names all run together, and I can prove that the names run together, and this is why I could not follow them. This is our second Buddy named character. There's a Buddy who already died, and now we have another Bud who's dying. Now, admittedly, in real life...
we don't know what happened to Bud Brown.
Oh, no, that's true. He's not dying. I'm just ranting. I'm very angry about this.
But his last name is Brown.
Oh, fucking... See, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I realize in real life, this is true. Like, in a small town, there's tons of people with the same names. It's to quote epic rap battles, it's called fiction. It's called fantasy. And to finish that line, you myopic manatee. I know that whole one. Like, I know every word to that epic rap battle. The reason that you have different names, Mr. King, because I know you're listening.
But don't call him Steve-O.
You know what? I'm gonna call you Steve because I'm real actually, no, that's not right. You don't call somebody by a name that they don't want to be called, even if you're angry with them, or even if you feel like they don't deserve respect in that moment. You don't dead name somebody and you don't call them a name that they don't want to be called, because you just don't do that. So, Mr. King, the reason you use different names for all of your different characters is so that way people who maybe have learning difficulties or things like, I don't know, really bad ADHD or other disabilities that I can't think of because I can only name the one that I have and that I can think of, can keep track of what's happening more easily in your fucking stories. So unless there's some reason, and that's why we're going to be connecting all of these people and keeping track, unless it's on purpose, you're just a fucking mean person for being too lazy to give people different names. Because it's so hard for me to keep track of who's who and what's happening. I end up having to my brain just has to go.
Especially in this, because there were a lot of characters for being a short story around 150 pages.
And I don't care that in real life there's lots of people with the same name. In a small town, there's maybe 100 people in that grocery store, and the chances of a bunch of them having the same name, or even two of them having the same name, I don't think they're that high. It could be. It certainly could be. Maybe. But again, it's called fiction, and this didn't need to happen. And now I'm sitting here about a book that I've already read, having to take notes as somebody else talks about it because I can't keep track of the fucking characters.
Absolutely.
Fuck you. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. I am done distracting us from the goddamn mist again. I will even yell at Stephen King about it just to get away from it for a second.
Mrs. Carmody's group does try to stop the people who want to leave, and Ollie shoots with his heart and he kills her. The group leaves.
The face of his father that day.
He did. The group leaves, but shit isn't smooth getting to David's car. Ollie and Mrs. Turman end up killed by something in the mist.
Again, fuck you, Stephen King.
Right. Cornell manages to make it back to the store, leaving David, Amanda, Billy, and Mrs. Repler to the car. David snags the gun, gets the car started, and then they're on the road. They go back to his house to try and check on his wife, but seeing the state of things, he rules it's unlikely she survived.
But not before he worries about what effect there will be with his new girlfriend, because he worries about this. Well, I don't know what it's going to be like having Steph and Amanda in the same car after I boned Amanda. I don't know what this is going to be like, but oh well. And then he goes to get Steph because that's a concern in that moment. It's made clear, like I realize we're going to talk about this once we get out of the summary, but this needed to be said so we don't have to talk about it later. This fucker...
It's trash.
Yes, because in the moment, like, she even kind of makes it clear. She says someone else's name. Mm-hmm. Like, they're looking for comfort in a really terrible, traumatizing situation. It's kind of a trash scene, but it kind of makes sense.
She basically picked him because he kept eyeing her.
Yeah, and
he kept objectifying her.
Yeah, and they're there. Trauma, like, there's a lot to be said when you have a lot of fear and your body is aroused by fear. Sometimes it will short circuit over to something else just because it can't understand what's happening. It doesn't know where to put the energy. I don't think Amanda was exactly like, wow, I'm in love with you now. It just wasn't like that. And I think she even said, like, that was last night. This is today.
She does.
Yeah. I quite frankly, I like Amanda too. But this piece of trash is like, well, what am I going to do when I have my wife and my girlfriend here now? That's going to be really awkward. That's going to be weird. I don't know what we're going to do, but I better go try to find my wife anyways. He's the fucking worst. David Drayton is the fucking worst.
He is.
And then Frank Darabont chose the ending that he chose.
So they decide that they're going to go ahead and try and find the end of the mist. They don't succeed. By the end of the story, it's coming from David's own writing stuff down in a Howard Johnson's on July 23rd as they're like resting up before they continue the journey to try and keep finding the end of the mist. And with this, we found the end of the mist, thank God.
But if you're watching the movie, we can spoil that, right? We can talk about that.
Let's talk about it when we watch the stupid ass movie.
I have to.
If you really want to, go for it.
Spoilers for right now.
If you would like to avoid the spoiler for the Mist film ending, skip to 50 minutes and 40 seconds.
Okay, so from right now, I'm going to speak a little bit about the ending of the movie because it drives me fucking crazy. So there is a line towards the end of the book where David mentions that he has just enough bullets in the gun that if all else fails, he can essentially take them out. But he wouldn't be able to take himself out. He wouldn't be able to shoot himself. But that he'd figure something out for himself. And the end of the book, it ends with hope. Like, he hears something on the radio at this Howard Johnson. Frank Darabont apparently didn't want that. I know you found something where he said that he just wanted it to have an ending.
Yeah, I think so. Of course, that's internet resources. Lord knows what it means.
And before you had told me that, I had just assumed that the book ending didn't test well with movie audiences. So he had to put something in there. And if you've seen the movie, or if you didn't listen to the spoiler warning and you're listening anyways, that's the ending that they go with, is that he shoots everybody else in the car, and then there's not enough bullets left for him. But it gets worse.
There's also an old man who makes it into the car with them too.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I think it's so that way he's still... I don't know. I don't fucking know. They add another character because Mrs. Repler can't be cool enough on her own. He can't be outnumbered by ladies. He might have sex with both of the ladies. Because I don't think in the book that there's another dude in the car.
No, it's literally Amanda, him, Billy, and Mrs. Repler. But in the movie, I think it's the guy who comes running in screaming that there's something in the mist. He survives and he makes it into the car.
Then as soon as he gets outside, because he goes outside of the car, I'm assuming to get something to come and find him and kill him. Because he just shot his kid and everybody else. And then the army shows up. And if he'd waited 10 seconds, they'd have been rescued. And the woman from the beginning of the movie who was like, isn't anybody gonna see a lady to her car? She survived, and her kids are there in the car with her because she didn't freak the fuck out. She just did what she needed to do and went home to her kids, which is my favorite part of The Mist, is that lady mean mugging him as they're driving by. I hate that ending. I don't understand why that ending. I don't like anything about The Mist. I don't like this story. I don't like any of this shit. That ending is so much worse than the Hojo ending.
I have a suggestion, and it only just occurred to me. Maybe Frank Darabont also hated The Mist, and he just really wanted David to suffer.
Maybe. You know what? You make a solid point. Maybe he was like, this dude's the worst. But he also gets rid of the sex scene and gives it to an army person that doesn't exist in the book. And it's not a sex scene. It's just they kiss, and then she's like... No.
And it's not with Amanda, it's with a checkout girl.
Yeah, he makes everybody involved with it younger.
No infidelity in the movie, except for implied infidelity.
Kat is very much right. We'll talk more about the movie when it is time for the movie. But I needed to get some of that out with the fucking ending because it's so stupid. All of it is so stupid. The ending of the book is at least better to any degree. You don't know what's going to happen. I don't know why they get out of their car and go inside of a hojo. They're not safe there. It's not safer.
I think they just wanted a bed, like an actual bed.
Yeah, oh no, it makes sense. I understand why they would want to, but it's not for safety purposes. It's not better. And like they are out of gas. They're going to have to siphon gas. I mean, I think the implication in the end is that they are screwed.
Yeah.
But having the surety that they are screwed is not better. I almost wonder if Frank Darabont was scared of like the studio wanting a sequel.
Oh. Ugh.
Yeah, no,
Probably.
Which is a little terrifying. But I hate it. I hates it. That is the end of fucking spoiler talk. Because that is the biggest difference between the movie and the book.
Yeah, it's so true.
That and Captain Holt.
So, let's start with the easy ball here. The fucking names. Yes, there is Buddy Eagleton. So there's Buddy Eagleton. There's Bud Brown, and again, Brown from The Gunslinger, who had a bird with him. Buddy Eagleton, maybe.
Yeah.
It was Zoltan.
So when Jake comes into The Gunslinger, he's died, and then it pulls him through, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it almost makes you wonder if like Midworld is almost like when you die and you're reincarnated, you're not reincarnated here, you get reincarnated there. You get what I mean? Or that it's a form of like purgatory. You can be born there or something, or now that the world has moved on, it's become purgatory or something. Or that Roland entered purgatory, like he found his way into purgatory. Because there are I think that we could find a lot of parallels to like Virgil and Dante and the Man in Black being, he's leading him through.
Yeah.
He's chasing, it's just not in a very nice way. But the Man in Black is leading Roland through the desert and through like the rungs kind of.
Yeah.
And he gets to Tull, and Tull is very purgatory-esque. And then he's going down through more, he has to go through like this pitch black mountain with this boy. And then he has to, he goes through all these different levels, right? And so some of these names and some of this shit like reappearing kind of makes sense, I think.
We also, of course, we have Mike Catlin, who sounds a lot like Mike from It, at least in terms of his name. Mrs. Terman's husband is named Alan. Yet another fucking Alan. Walter. It's only mentioned in passing, too. And, in fact, I found it when I was just pulling the names off of Stephen King's website. There's a Walter. Then we also have Dick Mueller, Dick Halloran.
Yeah.
Billy. And Bill Giosetti.
So 2 Williams.
Yep. And then this one's another one that was just like mentioned in passing, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to say the last name, but Tommy Elliches.
How's it spelled?
Ellitches.
Yeah, I think you're right. Elliches.
And we do have a running list of all of the recycled names that Stephen King uses across his mini stories.
What's interesting is that the women don't seem to have reused names. It's all these dudes.
Yep, except for Susan.
Is there a Susan in here?
No, there's not in here,
just
but
in
just
general.
I think that's the only other name I've noticed he's reused a whole lot.
I was referring specifically to the Mist. There doesn't seem to be reused women's names.
Yeah, no.
He comes up with new ones, though. Carmody, so is she only Mrs. Because for some reason I remember her as Mother Carmody.
It says Mrs. Carmody in here.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't know why my brain always remembers her as Mother Carmody.
I'm sure that's how she would like to be referred to.
So she mentions abominations of the earth.
Yes.
Specifically. So I've been trying to look into her name, Carmody. What I found is that it's like an Irish name. Mm-hmm. But the reason I was looking at it is because the word Carmody makes me think of the word Carmen. So red, like Carmine, Carmen. Mm-hmm. I don't know that the etymology checks out with that. I don't think that they're necessarily related. Knowing what we know about Stephen King, I don't know that he would care that those things matched, as long as those things actually elicited in the reader that connection. And the reason that I think that's important is because the Red Whore of Babylon, right?
Go watch Good Omens.
Yes, no, for sure. Go watch Good Omens. So out of Mother Carmody, I get two feels in the Book of Revelations, and in not even so much Revelations, but in Apocalypse. I don't want to say culture, but we'll say culture. There's two big figures. There's a lot of big figures because you also have the horsemen and you have whatever. I'm bringing this up specifically because she's talking about the apocalypse so much. Yes. That's where that abominations of the earth comes from. Is straight out of the Book of Revelations, right? The Whore of Babylon is the mother of. In fact, I have it pulled up. She's written in verse as, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And we keep seeing these women throughout King's writing who are presenting themselves as very religious figures who either have children, who have crazy powers that look like shine, but they're not. Shine doesn't seem to be destructive. They have these weird destructive powers. Or we see people like Mrs. Carmody, like Mrs. Carmody, or like the one in The Gunslinger, Sylvia Pittston.
Yeah.
Who whip people. She's just Sylvia Pittston, whipping people up around her into a frenzy about the end of days to get them to commit violence against people who are trying to do the right thing, who are doing good things. If she had kept them in that grocery store, they would have all eventually died. Nothing good is going to come of them all staying there.
No.
So think about it this way. It's a grocery store. These monsters eat people. They are now a grocery store for the monsters, and she's holding them there. So the Carmody, kind of making you think of red, right? Even if that word doesn't mean that, it still just gives you that kind of, it makes you think of the word Carmen, or at least it did me.
Mm-hmm.
The other figure is the Antichrist. Now, that word gets tossed around a lot. You can have more than one Antichrist. All an Antichrist is Antichrist. It's just somebody who preaches opposite to Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's more complicated than that. But what matters is the Antichrist, or the opposition or whatever. Basically what Sylvia Pittston was trying to convince people Roland was in The Gunslinger is someone who they're kind of described as being able to sort of in the Bible. And I want to be very clear. While I am a recovering Christian, I am not a Christian. I'm throwing around a lot of shit. I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea about me. So in the Bible, when Jesus is in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, Satan comes to him and tempts him, and he uses Bible verse. The Antichrist is able to use veil. They pull people to them by claiming that they are religious, or that they're using religion. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I see with Mrs. Carmody is basically exactly what we saw with Sylvia Pittston, exactly what we see with Carrie's mom, all of that the same way. But Mrs. Carmody is very successful with it. And she, by the end of the book, gets a blood sacrifice, which ends up being her. She's gathering followers just like Sylvia Pittston did. And like I said, she's now created a grocery store for the monsters to come and get what they need to come and eat. And that's legitimately what that place becomes. Yeah. It's come to the store, and they know to come and get their shit. And I know in the movie it shows her getting messages from God And I think in the book I don't remember because I would zone out a lot when it was her turn. It was very boring.
It didn't seem like she was getting actual messages as much as just like deciding things.
Okay.
In the book, I would argue that like she was any very aggressive Christian woman.
Okay.
Where they just go, well, I mean, God doesn't like that because of the things that they have devoted their time to studying out of the Bible. Never studied the Bible. I can't really vouch for the accuracy, but...
And I don't remember in the book. I know in the movie, if I remember right, she was pretty on it with what I remember from the Bible. I think also Stephen King had worked with Frank Darabont.
Yeah.
On the movie, and it makes me wonder if he wanted those things with her, because she's like, the monsters are not really the antagonist of this story. Mrs. Carmody is the antagonist with this story, and it's just very specific.
Yeah.
And it's yet another of this exact same character doing the exact same things, but I do feel like it's giving yet more clues that are going to get cross-referenced, I think, with other characters that we already can, with, like, even with Annie, like, Annie Wilkes. Annie Wilkes and Mrs. Carmody are, like...
Yeah.
It's just what Annie Wilkes was turning into.
Mrs. Terman, her first name's Hattie. When she is presented with the, like, hey, we're planning to run, you want to come with? She says that she wants to see the sun again. I think of the darkness in the mountain, which is what led us to this fucking place in the first place. And there's obvious Lovecraft inspiration in this story. I think he even mentions it in the intro.
Yeah.
You can visually see it. We do not endorse Lovecraft. There's clear Lovecraft energy in this story. I don't know full Lovecraft writing. I have listened to At the Mountain of Madness, which sucks, by the way.
But At the Mountains of Dadness is very different.
Yes.
That does not suck.
Dungeons and Daddies. They sell that, by the way, as like a thing you can just buy just those 3 episodes. Totally worth it. But either way, because we were in the mountains, stuck in the darkness, just trying to get to light in the gunslinger, it just feels so very fitting that this is what Mrs. Terman's like, no, I just want to see the sun again. I want out of darkness.
And I have to say, like, that's strange to me.
Mm-hmm.
They're barely there for 3 days.
Yeah.
Not even. And people are already nutting up.
Yep. It's very the monsters are due on Maple Street.
Well, and what's wild, too, is, like, sometimes you have storms. Has she never had a storm? Am I just an indoor kid and I spend a lot of time inside? Like, it just doesn't seem like it's that long.
It's not. I think it's just the stress of having so many people around you.
Yeah.
Because it is a store packed full of people. And we know for a fact by this point, because it doesn't come up until like day 2 when they are planning their escape, that people are dying. Like, she's already given up hope. And I believe, like, she's like telling David, like, you know Steph's dead. I know Alan's dead. And David gets really upset, like, no, I don't know that yet. And Billy's right here. I'll give him beer, but he can't hear certain language, and he needs to think his mama's still alive.
Well, he doesn't want him to grow up into a sissy who doesn't drink beer.
A 5-year-old, by the way. Billy's 5, and David gave him 3 sips of beer, but had a problem with Norton's language in the car.
Beer's kind of gross. You really gotta start getting a kid in on beer early if they're gonna like it. I'm 35 and I still don't drink beer because it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
I never got into it as a 5-year-old, so.
There is a great, like, roast recipe, though, that uses, like, a flavored beer.
Oh, yeah.
That we like in this house. But, you know,
true.
It's the roast that's drinking the beer, not us.
Like, pineapple beer's pretty good.
So.
Like, apple. But those are ciders. Those aren't.
Yeah.
Just like beer, like Coors Light.
No.
Nasty. It tastes like it smells. I don't know that I've ever actually tasted it because it smells so nasty.
The extremity has probably a lot more to do with just the situation of, like, we know people are out there dying. I imagine some level of grief of knowing, like, my husband's dead. He's got to be. There's no way that he's not dead right now. And I also have to believe that in order to keep functioning, because then the question is exactly what David gets into of, do I go and try and find out, or do I just try and get out of here?
Yeah.
Am I going to be guilty because I left someone who was possibly still alive behind? in order to save myself? Or, do I risk my life for someone who most likely is dead?
Well, so that kind of almost like mania, I guess, or psychosis. Like, it's hard to tell what is going on with these people, right?
David's unreliable.
Oh, yeah, David is a very unreliable narrator. That being said, what we haven't even begun to touch on is what has actually caused this with the mist.
Yeah.
Which is that it's not necessarily confirmed in the short story. It's much more confirmed in the movie, because in the actual short story, the two military guys hang themselves pretty early on. And in the movie, they add like two different military dudes, and it just gets covered much better. Ollie remembers some stuff in the book.
And David does too, because Bill Giuseppe had been a huge conspiracy nut.
The reason I mention Ollie specifically is because he brings up the Singing Roses.
Yeah.
And that's a huge connection. We haven't even said the words yet, Arrowhead Project, which was kind of the big deciding factor in swapping over. Because, or at least it was for me, because in The Gunslinger, Roland finds when they come upon a place where they are talking about a gas that killed people, Roland also finds some very ineffective arrows that are wrong, that do not work correctly. Now, in The Mist, the book, not within The Mist itself, there is an army installation up on a mountain. Speaking of mountains of madness,
Mount Washington.
They are trying to work with portals. You find out in the book that they are trying to figure out how to like make portals to other places. And it appears that this mist and the resulting monsters are a like consequence of that. That the mist may have come in from one of these portals, and the monsters came with it. So in The Gunslinger, when he finds arrowheads or arrows that do not work correctly, well, we know, or at least we'll find out, but if you have been on the journey before, you know that things in one world do not appear the same in another world. But that also is a huge clue to the Arrowhead Project, which did not work as intended. But it does make me wonder if the mist itself is making people kind of go crazy, and if the monsters are actually there, or if it's something that they're seeing. Because say they fought this war in Roland's world with this mist, or say that the army has created this mist, there's options, right? And you go crazy. Well, there's other people out and about. We know that there were people in the pharmacy. We know that there's people just kind of out doing shit. We know that the army is out and about. If that mist makes you see other people who are exposed to it, but weren't like with you during the initial exposure, or like after a few hours or something, as like monsters, or you see like shit, if it just makes things look wrong, or like how drugs can, or something. Yeah. Now, army guys are attacking you because they're seeing monsters. You're attacking them because you see monsters that are attacking you. It could kind of account for that. And I've just kind of wondered, there are a lot of reasons why people would be going crazy in this grocery store. But the fact that like people are just at the end of their rope, about to give up hope by like day 2 of being in this building where they have food, water, clothes. Like, if you know anything about like the Donner Party, they still had hope by the time they were eating their own shoes. And there were definitely things out there wanting to kill them. Like, most of their party had died. Humans don't just, some humans do. Like, that is normal. But the idea that people were just like, nope, it's over, and everybody we know are dead, like.
Do you think that could have something to do with just like disenchantment with the world around people in the 80s? Because, I mean, you and I are pretty damn disenchanted. We just talked earlier about, like, I can't hold out hope that Edward Gorey wasn't a problematic person.
I don't think so, because the human brain really wants to protect itself and the body that it's in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not very protective for it to immediately just be like, well, if this is the reality, everything's over. It makes a lot, I think it would make a lot more sense that your reaction is going to be more like what Brent Norton's reaction. Like, that's a normal reaction to the scenario of, like, I don't believe this. I'm going to try to leave. And then even if you do believe it, you're thinking that help is going to eventually come.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in a space that overall is safe. There are things that have gotten in, but they didn't lose very many people to that attack, and they started figuring out ways to fix it. You might be scared, but just the idea that there were enough people, like, there were people who turned to Mrs. Carmody, but for people to kind of just immediately by day 2, like, my husband said, everybody's gonna die, everything's over, I'm just done. And that there were so few people on like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to leave, or I'm gonna try to stick it out. And just immediately at that point of desperation of just, no, it's all over. But
See, it's not just millennials.
Right?
Mrs. Terman was no way a millennial.
No.
We weren't born yet.
And maybe Mrs. Terman already had
many.
like depression or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
And obviously it could also be that Stephen King doesn't know how people actually react in a crisis. But if we are just within the actual world itself, I think that there is a strong chance that the mist was like driving up. It could drive up aggression. It could drive up. It makes me think like Man of Medan. Like, yeah. I think that's what it was making me think of a lot. For those of you who don't know, I'm talking about the video game Man of Medan. That's Supermassive. Is it Supermassive?
Yes, Supermassive. It's from the Dark Pictures anthology game series. It's the first installment.
Exactly, where it's making you more afraid, more aggressive. It kind of lowers inhibitions and puts you more in, like, it gets you, I think the way that my therapist describes it all the time is like, your prefrontal cortex is what, it either is the thing that makes you less good at thinking or more good at thinking, but either way, it just screws with your prefrontal cortex enough that you're then not doing the kind of critical thinking you need to be doing, and you're just doing like caveman days, scared human get eaten kind of thinking, which again, it does make sense in a crisis, or it can, to turn to it that fast when, like, yes, people are dying, but overall, like, one person died to tentacles. A few people died because they left safety. And then what was the other death by that point?
By this point, we have the pharmacy with all the spiders had happened.
Because, again, people left.
And then the bugs and the pterodactyl things had gotten inside.
And how many people had died to the bugs and pterodactyl things?
I don't remember. I didn't really take that close of notes on that. I just remember, like, a lady gets trampled at some point.
That's right.
And she's not even dead. She's just not in great shape. That's part of what they were thinking with the pharmacy of, well, maybe we can get her something so she's not just miserable.
So somebody gets trampled, but I don't remember anybody dying.
Yeah.
In that scene.
I think there is one guy who ends up getting, like, roasted. Like, he catches on fire.
But does he catch on fire from the bugs?
No. He was, like, trying to torch and accidentally got himself.
So the only people who have died are people who left the supermarket and went out into the mist.
Yes.
Or people who have died due to accidents from the people around them. The actual things have not killed anybody from the inside. They've scared people, but they haven't actually killed anybody. So again, I really think that there's a connection with this shit. It's almost like what you see in, like, It and stuff, where it's more like the fear is what it is. It's like driving up fear. It's not so much trying to, like, the stuff isn't really trying to kill anybody.
It's just trying to survive.
Pretty much. Only the spiders end up really killing anybody. But it's like the webs mostly, I think, like, because it cuts open somebody's thigh and like they do end up eating somebody eventually, but it's just not.
Everybody gotta eat.
Yeah. So the fact that they're that willing to give up that quickly, it just really makes me like.
That's fair.
I just question it a lot. I question whether or not there's actually something in the mist and it's not some kind of hallucination or something. I guess I'm a flat earther.
You're a flat earther.
I'm like a earth domer, I guess.
Great book about like flat earthers and like the whole flat earth like movement, I guess. Off the Edge. It's short, it's really good though, and it kind of like goes over how we have gotten to this place of flat earthers.
Oh, I did want to point out that I think flat earthers as a name for the group, it made sense because we're showing you all of this proof. You've seen all of this proof and you still won't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fucking genius. Yep. Calling them the flat earthers.
So you also like refuse to even like go and see the thing that might disprove it. Like, because Norton will not go and look at the tentacle that's been chopped off in the loading area.
You won't believe it until you see it for yourself, but the only way for you to see it for yourself is to die.
Next thing I would like to talk about is David is a judgmental ass. Like, he's kind of a dick to his wife. Not in an unusual way, sadly enough. I've seen a lot of dudes who kind of act the same with... It almost feels like they're constantly laughing at their wives a little bit. Yeah. You can do better. You guys can do better. Trust me, you don't need him. It's fine. If he constantly seems like he's kind of laughing at you, cut your losses, move on. He's not worth it, and he's probably not going to change. And frankly, the biggest fucking joke in Steffi's life is David. So we've already kind of mentioned this a little bit. This is the downside of the first person POV of like, we have to fucking hear every goddamn awful thing that David thinks. Through the course of the story, you learn that he's the son of an artist, as I was joking that nobody was going to like his mist anymore. He is also an artist, but he's a son of an artist. And you get this sense of bitterness from him about how disappointed in himself he seems to be. Talking about how he isn't good enough, like his father was, and how talent is actually the curse of expectation. He has to be the judgmental ass that he is to handle his reality. And it's not unheard of, but it's a shame that we did get this story from his POV. I really would have preferred to hear it from Ollie's like perspective. Even if it ended when Ollie dies. That would have been a great ending. That would have been fine.
Or if we got like Ollie's ghost watching him be fucking stupid. Kind of like, I don't know it. I know that you have. I don't know if the readers, if you haven't read Song of Achilles, you should. It's the best. It's the best. But like the ending, spoilers from this point for Song of Achilles.
No. I'm sorry. If you don't know the Greek story of Achilles,
no, but
you already know where this ends.
The spoiler is for how she wrote how the ending goes. But how Patroclus is like a ghost, basically, and watching through the ending.
Forced ghost.
Because it's from his point of view. And through the whole book, I'm going, this is beautiful. But he dies before everything else. Are we just going to end it where he dies? And the way that she handles it is really well. But yeah, how it like
force ghost
following him. Yeah, force ghosting. And yeah, if we'd basically done that with Ollie, I'd have been so happy. Even if they had kept the Frank Darabont ending and Ollie was just like, this wasn't. We could have done other things. David, you're a fucking moron. I don't think he'd have thought that because Ollie was a good dude.
Ollie was a good dude. But, this does, like, I think, bring to another point of, we find out that all of this is David Drayton writing this all down. And he is legitimately our narrator. And he mentions at one point, I don't know what became of the people in the store. This is the first one written in first person. Is this a joke or... Actually, no, I will tell you right now. What I am about to say is a joke. Could David be the narrator of all the other stories, which are told in third person? That's why we don't find out some shit, because he doesn't care. David only cares about David. He didn't even care about his kids sometimes. He cares about David.
Stories that he's telling. That he's telling his kid, like, as Billy gets older.
Yeah, and that's why he's doing like, well,
just making shit up.
I don't know what happened to Kieran. I'll tell you that story another time. I'm still waiting.
Oh, man. I can't. Mr. King, since I know you're listening, I think that if you don't write Curran's story for Kat, she's going to nut the fuck up. Like, she's gonna lose it. You need to just write the damn story. If anybody can get me, like, a P.O. box or something for Stephen King so I can write him a very heartfelt letter. I thought I was the one who, like, if I was on my deathbed, somebody would have to get a hold of Stephen King for me, but clearly it's you.
I was promised a story about a man who had such experience that he converted to something. And I do believe that Kieran on the Eyes of the Dragon, like, entry on his website was one of the lesser wardens of Peter. That's why I need to know this story.
If he had such an experience that he converted to something, I wonder if he'd be in, like, the Little Sisters of Illyria, because I think that one has, like, nuns, essentially.
And he became a priest.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering. I'm wondering if he does show up again, if it would be there. Because I think that's where Dennis and Thomas end up getting mentioned again. Well.
We survived the mist.
We did.
I don't know how we did it.
I feel like I had a lot more to talk about with this. But at this point, I can't. It connects. Like, there is a lot here that connects. I think that the mist is going to come up more as we're talking about other things.
Yeah.
This is going to be part of what builds the base of a lot of other shit. Because this was written while he was writing other things. Mm-hmm. If you look at, like, I ended up looking up, because, I forget what, I think this was on the Wikipedia. It says it's, like, won all these awards and shit. It hasn't. It didn't. It was entered for awards that it didn't win.
It didn't deserve them.
No. But the last two short stories that build up the gunslinger were entered in a lot of those same contests, and those did win. But it means that they are contemporaneous, obviously, with this. Like, he wrote them all at the same time. Because of the publication history, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But again, I have an aunt who writes stories.
Technically, you have two, don't you?
I do, but this one I talk to, like, literally twice a day, every day, and the other one is I don't talk to her very often. I don't really know.
You just come from a literary family.
I do in fact. But I have two aunts who write. But
my family's mountain folk.
Yeah, I guess lake folk do more writing. I can say from knowing her very well and seeing the process, like, what is being put out there isn't always what you're working on at the time. Like, just for anybody who didn't know that and that needs that inside baseball, sometimes it's something that you wrote a while ago that now, like, fits something. But just from looking at, like, when stuff is getting put out for, like, awards and shit, and the way that this shit is written and what is kind of, what bits and pieces are peppered into other places, I feel pretty comfortable saying that I'm pretty sure he was writing The Mist at the same time that he was writing the last two. And I don't mean The Gunslinger or The Man in Black, not the fifth, like, really short bit.
Which we will hopefully get to read.
But the last two, 3 and 4, I can't remember their names right now.
The Oracle in the Mountains and
The Way Station.
The Slow Mutants.
Oh, The Slow Mutants.
Yeah, the second one is The Way Station.
See, that's why I shouldn't have said anything. I think he was writing all of these together, and you can see where he started to go, oh, you know what? This shit all sews together. And then like, he just straight up says that took years to write, and that was also getting written while all of this other shit was getting written.
Which is where Mike comes from.
For sure. Well, where a lot of this comes from.
And Billy. Lots of Bills.
And I would hypothesize this set of stories, all of them, the Mist, and the Oracle in the Mountains, and the Slow Mutants is where we're seeing Stephen King's, like, interconnected, expanded, like, universe be birthed. Like, this is where that happens.
It is the beginning.
Yeah, for real. And as much as the Mist sucks, I think it's a really important part of it.
No, I think you're right. And I think that there is a solid possibility once we get away from this and we're into that, like, rose-colored glasses, like, looking back, that maybe we won't feel as aggressively as we do about the Mist. Because I can say, like, I was not the biggest fan of Misery. But as we have continued to read The Gunslinger, reading The Mist, I'm starting to see a lot more things that just sort of, like, flare up that's like, oh man, that's like Misery. And, you know, Misery is more connected. And it's made me appreciate Misery in a very different way. I do expect at some point we're probably going to have to actually reread some stuff because legitimately the further and further we go, the more stuff just starts to stand out, especially reading the intro that he wrote for Skeleton Crew. And you had actually brought up this short story too of the word processor of evil, which in the intro, he wrote that originally for Playboy. And that was actually the calculation that, like, the friend who's like, short stories are losers, asked him, like, well, what did you get paid? And made him break down that he really didn't get paid that much after you take all these other things into consideration. As you remember, Paul doesn't have an N on his typewriter. And he had actually been starting to work on a word processor because those had started to be a thing. And at the end, the story that he's working on after all of the stuff happened with Annie, with the kid Eddie and the skunk, he's writing it on a word processor. It just starts to feel like there's more and more there.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. It's because he's birthing these things at the same time. And a part of me kind of hopes that I will like the Mist better once there's some distance between me and the Mist and I can just remember the good parts.
Yeah.
Like Ollie.
No, for real. I think so. I think you will. I think that's exactly what's going to end up happening. And as far as Misery goes, I think that theory that this is where we're seeing this bigger universe start to sew together. We're witnessing the Big Bang, essentially, or at least where it's starting to kind of mesh. I know that you've said Misery, like the theory is that Misery is a answer to the Eyes of the Dragon. I think Misery also is, as we're going through it, I'm like losing my shit because Annie's killing, and it seems like it's all the ways of like the older books that had come through. Like she, the fires like Carrie, and then the here's Johnny fucking axe shit. It almost seems like Misery is a very neat like way to bring books that were written, like instead of him having to go and revise every single one of those books, he wrote this book as a way to very neatly knit all of those books into this universe. And I know that those books, like there's other bits and pieces that do that as well. But now we have Annie Wilkes. And if Annie Wilkes is possessed and she does each of those things, now it's very easy to go back to those books and go, oh, well, Carrie, Ralph White could have just been Walter. Absolutely nothing has to change because we see Annie killing with fire. And that's all that has to happen. Something that we can link. We can use it to link. We have The Shining, and we know that shine is something that is prevalent all throughout.
Yeah.
Right? And all we have to do is go, well, Annie seems like she had shine, but she got taken by bad guys. Or she got, she married whoever, or something happened there.
Ralph Dugan.
Exactly.
Or something
yes,
like that.
We have another Ralph.
Yep.
And also a fire happened. And now we have another connection. There's a bad car. And we know that she killed with a lawnmower or killed like with a car or something.
She killed with a lawnmower.
And we literally need nothing else. We need no other thing to just knit all of it together. And it becomes just a really neat fix without having to to do anything else to bring the universe all together. Mm-hmm. And that I think would be my big theory as far as, because you just don't have to do much else at that point. Like I said, you don't have to go back and revise every other book you've written. That was a podcast.
That was a podcast.
Would you say that we loved ourselves or loved the listeners? Because we definitely didn't love The Mist.
You know what? We love our listeners.
That's fair. I only ask because when we pulled our card last time, it was the Two of Cups. And that apparently was emphasizing a love for at least our listeners. And it's certainly, I mean, that's pretty much all I could hold in my heart the whole time to make me get through this shit. And I don't, if the cards...
We loved Ollie.
Oh, you know what? Yes. We
and
did
Mrs.
love
Repler.
Ollie. You know,
Gunslinger Mrs. Repler.
in a weird way, I also loved Mrs. Carmody. She lived by what she believed.
She did.
And she did a pretty fucking good job. The only person I didn't like was David.
It's the true curse of expectation.
Not even like in a way of, wow, this is a really good, bad character. Like, I don't like him because I'm not meant to like him. Because the problem is I think I was meant to like him.
Or at least neutral him.
Yeah.
Because we've talked before, there's no real, like, good people in some of the Stephen King shit. Like, there's not just plain, oh, you're just a good person. There's people are complicated. And Stephen King really does, like, deliver complicated people where it's like, oh, you know, you're the main character and you're not the worst guy in the room, but you're also not the best guy in the room.
But David wasn't complicated. David was just very stereotypical and in a way that I have come to expect better of Stephen King. This felt rushed. And knowing that he's talked about how he came up with the idea, like, sometimes you don't have to write every idea that comes into your head, Stephen King.
But what would happen if... That's also from the intro of how, like, that's how he comes up with the short stories, is that he answers that question. And...
someone needs to tell him that it's okay to just fantasize about stuff.
Some questions don't need answering.
Like, you can just think about cool shit in your brain, and it's allowed to just stay there. You can just think about it. You're allowed to just sit. You can even put on music and just kind of, like, look out the window and just think about cool shit. You're allowed to do that. It doesn't have to be written down. You can just think about it. You can even tell somebody about it if you want to.
Curse of expectation.
So let's see what the cards say. Ooh.
I shuffled them real good and blessed them. Ooh, we have the Chariot.
Yeah, that's why it's a major arcana. I actually pulled it right side up. The Chariot's a big boy. Chariot is a big boy card.
The Chariot with its triumphant occupant, because there's a guy. He's proudly in that chariot.
I like that this one is pulled by sphinxes. That's very cool. Like, because I have decks. We've talked about this. I do not have any, because this is just a, like, classic Rider-Waite, isn't it?
Yeah.
I did not know that the classic Rider-Waite is pulled by sphinxes. Yeah. Sphinxes with human, well, I guess not all sphinxes have human faces, right?
I think they're supposed to.
Are they?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen just a plain Rider-Waite deck.
So the Chariot implies forward motion, success, and willpower. Oh God, I don't know if that's a good thing. The sphinxes are of opposite color, and they are actually pulling in opposite directions. This is getting worse. The chariot moves forward through the willpower of the driver. The rider is not given any of his possessions. He's had to earn them through dedication and personal achievement. Bootstraps.
Oh, God.
So, my takeaway from this is that...
Christmas is gonna suck.
Or January's gonna suck. Maybe both. We got willpower. Get through this. And we are going to get through the end of the fucking Gunslinger. We're gonna We're going to finish up the Slow Mutants, fingers crossed. And we're going to finish up the last chapter, which is the Gunslinger and the Man in Black, I believe.
We're not. I don't think we are. I don't
Shut your
anymore.
Shut your mouth.
I don't think we ever will. I think we're stuck in our fucking...
This is our purgatory. We're going to get through this, and we're going to get through it together.
All I hear in my head right now is just NSYNC singing, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, and Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas.
To those of you who cannot
Merry
see,
Christmas,
Taryn is
Happy Holidays,
dancing in their chair.
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas.
Now they're doing like an airplane thing in the chair.
Happy holidays. I'm still dancing. It's just that it's just bigger. We'll be watching Christmas movies on Max,
including the Guy Pearce, Charles Dickens, Christmas Carol.
It's not Christmas
That
without Guy Pearce.
Series is something. Andy Serkis is in it though, and he's not in it enough. I need more about Christmas Past. So if anybody who has any pool can make that happen, get Andy Serkis back and just tell me the story of Christmas Past. I don't care about anything else.
I want the guy who plays Marley in it though too. So it's telling the story of Christmas Past between Jake and Marley. Happy Christmas, everybody.
There might be Christmas worlds. I don't know.
Christmas. Go find them.
You can follow us on Instagram at ManyConstantWorlds. You could DM us if you have any thoughts, questions, things you'd like to put out there. You can also email us at manyconstantworlds@gmail.com.